to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Political comments. As the recording secretary for a roll call.
Dawn Bouquet, Brian Carson,
Here. Excuse me, Dawn called me. She is on the way. She will be here.
Jessica Decker, Corey Homer.
Here.
Pam Butley,
Pam just texted me. She will not be able to make it.
Jack O'Leary.
Here.
Alicia Sheehan.
Here.
Rosemary Walsh.
Here.
And John Robleski.
Here.
And Jessica's away.
Okay. Corey, can you read the mission statement, please?
Yep. Delaware Valley School District, in partnership with our community, stands committed to maximizing student potential, fostering lifelong learning, and promoting responsible citizenship.
The executive session was held on January 10th, 2019 to discuss a personal issue on negotiations. I have a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Okay, before we get into the presentations, I just want to take 2 minutes to say something. The budget's not coming up. I had a discussion with John this week, and he said that he will be able to bring us some stuff in February, so I'd like to thank him publicly for arranging that and his staff for doing that. I think that'll help us all have a little bit more time to digest the whole budget. So, it was a big thing to do. It was a big ask, but I appreciate John and his staff's work on being able to accommodate us with that. As far as the board member goes, there's 2 sites that I've been looking at for the last couple of weeks. I'm a bit of a geek. I'll stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning now that I have some time to go over financial statements and stuff. And if you go to psba.org, they have sample budgets for the 2016, 2017 is readily available. And it gives you some background and idea of the averages of the state. The only thing I would caution is, I talked to Bill today about some of those. We have to make sure when we draw comparisons that we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. But just on what I saw, when you compare the state of Pennsylvania, you have the large areas around Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, which generally cost more per student average. But then you have some very rural areas where the schools just can't afford to offer too much to their students, and you'll have a low average. So although there's a great disparity between school districts, the 500 school districts that are in Pennsylvania, it does, if you look at what PSBA has drawn up, it does give you the ability to make some legitimate comparisons, and that's what I tried to do. Also, if you go to Pennsylvania, www.pennsylvania.education.gov, what I did with that last week till the sun came up one night was I went over, whenever we get stuff from the administration, as a matter of professional courtesy, they never name the other schools. So they call them schools A, B, C, D, E, and F. But if you go to this site, you can pretty much tell by geographics which schools are A, B, C, D, E, and F. We just don't mention them in public because it is a professional courtesy. And I did this, and I went back to a 5-year trend and even a 10-year trend. And I have to say, what I found is, okay, like I was just explaining to Marvin about transportation. If a certain school district has a school here and the stop's there, it's a 10-mile difference. And that never changes. For the most part, those distances never change. So transportation costs in that district stay the same, as well as facilities. But if you do a trend, and it's easy enough to do a trend over the 10 years, and you compare their trends as to ours, and school districts generally stay in the same area. In every category, every single category that I went through, Delaware Valley is top of the notch, is top of the field. And I was talking to Bill early this morning on the telephone. It just shows what a really good area, what a really good job the financial administration does in our district, and the different department heads do in their areas, and then that filters down to the job that the teachers are doing, the educators, and all the different facility staffs. Some of the things that are glaring is districts that do not have our size nor our enrollment have greater incomes, revenues from taxes, because, you know, some of these lake homes are large and they get a better tax base. Some of the areas have a bigger commercial district. So when you do these trends over time, the one thing that came out glaring to me was that we do not carry the financial debt obligations that other districts are carrying. And that's really shown the big difference in our schools. One of the nearest schools to us, if you look at their basic educational expenses, the trend is they have far less students than we have, yet their expenditures are widely expanding as compared to ours. And we offer a lot. You know, and I try to find out, John helped me with this, some of what other schools offer, because he knows. And there's really no comparison there. So overall, I was very pleased with that. But that information, draw your own conclusions. It's at pa.gov, pa.education.gov. And if you need any assistance with it, I've looked at this for hours, so maybe I can help. It is good in all areas. It gives you special education, what we do there, and things like that too. And every area I looked at, we did well. We did far better than any of the other schools that would be the ABCD schools around here. So I was very pleased, and I'd like to thank Bill for leading that up. Okay, enough out of me. Sorry. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks for you. Thanks everybody in this room, though.
Well,
They all do their.
I'm probably gonna give you 4 or 5 months now of very hard questions. I'd
Sorry. Get the niceties out of the way
like to
now.
get the niceties out of the way, because
Be over shortly.
it actually was really nice, Bill, to see. It really shows what we're trying to do here as a district on a whole. And I always talk about getting the best bang for your buck, and I'm glad my kids are in this district, because we're getting the best bang for our buck here. And that is really a group effort, so I appreciate all the work done. Okay, presentations. Dr. Bell.
All right, thank you. We, just because there's impending snow tonight, and some of the staff that are here have to travel over an hour home, we canceled the student recognition of 2 of the teams that were gonna come tonight, and then we told the student reps that they could stay home tonight. So if everything stays on target, we could actually have you out of here by about 8 o'clock. So moving on to 3B, we have our presentation that we were looking forward to. They came to visit us last year. The social workers and guidance came to visit us and had a really great presentation last year, or the year before. Was it last year or 2 years ago? Last year?
2 years ago.
I can't remember. So we were really looking forward to having the ladies back. But I'll start with Dr. Farrell, if you want to introduce everybody. And then we'll go.
I'd be happy to. Last week I talked to you about the wellness policy and some changes we want to make to it by adding some well-being of our students, mental health well-being. This week, to kind of go along with that, I've asked 3 of our staff members to come along and talk to us about some of the great supports that we have at Delaware Valley, some of the resources that we use both within the school district and outside, as well as some of our curriculum that they're going to cover. So I'd like to introduce 3 members here. We have Lynn Communal, who is our department head of guidance. She is the Dingdale Middle School guidance counselor. We have Vivian Bruno, who is our social worker for both middle schools, and Amy Latwinsky, who is our high school social worker. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Vivian,
So-
that doesn't mean you have to 8 o'clock.
So we're talking about how well we're doing financially. And so I think it's great that we're talking about our wellness policy, because we do our best to try for our children, or all of our students, to be at their best by learning the DB5, by doing the best that they can in every area. So we wanted to start off with the social and emotional learning that will be included at a developmentally appropriate level within the health curriculum in all of the grades. And I know that they have presented this, but I wanted to highlight that in the elementary school, we really talk about mental and emotional health. At the middle school, we really address bullying, cyberbullying, social skills. We talk about social media. In the high school, anger management, decision-making, having assertive behaviors. And this is our proactive way of teaching our students how to be better citizens. The physical and social environment that encourages self-care, acceptance, and kindness shall be maintained. These are all of our programs that we have at the elementary, middle, and high school. I know I have my interns that really put all of their effort into the Sandy Hook Promise to start with hello. We just finished the court for the King and Queen of Kindness at the middle school. We've done a lot of announcements about bullying awareness, suicide awareness, cyber awareness. Next week, we're going to be talking about drugs and alcohol so that the students know what not to do. So this is our way of being proactive with our students. And finally, we have tremendous trained staff in all of our counseling department within the elementary, middle, and the high school. As you can see, we have licensed professionals, we have counselors, we have emotional support classrooms, we have 9 nurses. So we have a wealth of staff. We could use more, but we have a wealth of staff. We always are making sure that we're trained, that we take our continuing education courses, that we're up and knowing what it is that we need to know to be relevant, and that we can address the needs of our students.
Oh, yeah. Another part of what we do to deal with the wellness of our students is we offer a continuum of counseling groups to address their mental health, social and emotional well-being, positive relationships, and responsible decision-making shall be available in all schools. This is an overall idea of the support groups that we offer from at all levels. Of course, they're going to be age appropriate, developmentally appropriate, depending on what level. And sometimes they're not always necessary at a certain time of year, or there's more of a need for, let's say, coping instead of maybe grief or that kind of thing. So it's always dependent on what the students need at the building that they're in. Yeah.
What is Alateen?
Alateen is a group for children who live with or are living near affected by a relative or a friend, a close member who is an addict. So it's for the students who are living with that to, I just lost my train of thought, to get support from other students who are living in that same situation. We do have someone who comes from the local Al-Anon chapter in Milford, who comes as an outside resource to come and facilitate that with us. And we have that in 2 buildings. The district shall collaborate with community-based mental health agencies to provide support and resources for our students and their families. This is some of the things that we do in order to collaborate with our community resources. As you all know, that, through the state, we have our student assistance program where we identify many of our students. Other things that we do is that we have an up-to-date provider list in all of the buildings for any families that may need any type of resources or supports. As you know, we have our Prosper program. We are newly members last year of the Pike County Interagency Council, which has been absolutely fabulous. In fact, I just had the meeting today, and there's a bunch of community-based agencies that want to do work with Delaware Valley students, that they want to work in partnership with them. So that we have IU20, let's see what Safe Haven Pathways, Community Solutions. What else do we have community-based? We're having Friendship House. Yep. Oh, thank you. Friendship House. And we're having some presentations from the outside to come in to talk to our students about a variety of things such as suicide and mental health. Oh, and most importantly, our wellness fair, which we're having for the first time this year. We're very excited about doing this. And I'm excited only because at the agency council, we already have people that want to come. They want to meet our students. They want to let them know how they can help our students and how our students can help them. So they're all excited. We already have people lined up to come.
In that agency, Can you
Sorry.
expand on that? Can you tell
Which
us
one?
what the Pike County Interagency Council,
Sure.
what, I know they want to come, they want to meet our students, they want to help us. How?
Well, what the council is a bunch of agencies that are in Pike County, all different. We have the Area Agency on Aging. We have Caring Communities, which deals with HIV and other STD testing, the LGBTQ community. There is MHDS, who we work with, mental health and developmental services. There's a nursing organization, Kids Peace, all of these social service agencies that work in Pike County, also Wayne and Lackawanna, but Pike County, they all meet bi-monthly, I don't know, quarterly maybe. And they just basically say what they offer, what they have, so that it's more of a networking, so that they can say what they can offer each other, what they're offering that's new to the community. Not everything is for students. Area Agency on Aging, of course. However, we also have a lot of students. What's good for us, we have students that are being cared by their grandparents. So we're going to talk with them to see what kind of services that they can give the grandparents that are parenting some of our students. So it's more of a networking to see what they can do. We have Kids Peace wants to come into our wellness fair. The Caring Communities, which does free HIV testing. They also do a lot with the LGBTQ community, wants to come in. The Area Agency on Aging wants to get some students that would maybe help and volunteer and work with the seniors in the area. So I told them to come on by so that maybe we can hook them up with some of our students.
The Prosper program, I have to share, is a program that's really marketed by the Commissioner's Office and Penn State. And we are collaborating with them. This will be our second year where we offer, it's like an anti-opioid program. So it's drug prevention. And basically the program is so that students or teenagers can learn how to communicate better with their parents. And so the program is separated by the teens having a session, the parents having another session, and then we bring them all together. And it's a 7-week session. We're gonna do one now in March. Over at the Dingman campus for the middle school.
My 90-year-old mother temporarily has agreed to move out of New York City and move in with me. My 9-year-old daughter was looking after her. What I'm seeing there is amazing between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe this is a 9-year-old girl, but I see the benefits of a young child working with that. And I also see now that the grandparent is living in the home, how the children adapt to that too. So I do think that that's a good area to follow. Much benefit that I've just seen in the last 2 weeks. Much benefit. Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
Oh, sure. Yes. Yes.
My count as the screens were flying by, I counted something like 14 counselors altogether and three different from various schools.
At the elementary level, we have 4 school counselors.
Right.
At the middle school, we have 3 school counselors and 2 that are.
Okay. I was wondering, numerous programs, how many kids do you service, take care of? Do you have an idea how many go through various programs?
Yes, and that is coming right up right now. Yeah, right now. You ask, we deliver.
Just about the, you touched about the opioid
Yes.
7-week session.
Yes.
And that the families are doing that at Delaware. How, is that like a voluntary program? Like, is it specific fit? Like, what is?
We offer it to all families within the school. And basically what we want to do is target, the data has found that kids tend to want to use drugs when they're in their teens, right? So it's between 6th and the 8th grade, as well as maybe even freshman 9th grade. So that's the target population. And so we've offered that program both at this campus at, Delaware Valley Middle School, and now we're going to do it in the spring over at Dingman's. And it's basically, we present it to everyone. Whoever wants to sign up, they can sign up, and then we have the program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In terms of mental health screening, do we do any depression screening, anything along those lines with our psychologists now?
Not a universal screening.
No, we refer out for those screenings if.
Well, if we have a student who we feel
Right.
is exhibiting some, a guidance counselor might pick that up, or one of the social workers might pick that up. That student will be brought in and certainly put through a screening process. Yes, but
Right.
we don't have anything universal that we collect data on and then pull students in there.
Right. Well, I mean, I meant just the depression screening. So do we do anything with diagnosis, or is that all referred out at this point?
No, we do our school site. If we feel that a student rises to the level where they need
Right.
an evaluation,
Uh-huh.
if it's psychiatric, we do use IU20
Oh,
for
okay.
that, but our school psychologist will do psychological educational testing, behavioral rating scales, all of that sort of thing.
And with regards to that, we do have a lot of students, we don't diagnose. We do get, as far as, we talk with students, we get referrals from the teachers or SAP or that kind of thing. But we do, when we have students that are diagnosed, if they go to their own doctor or what have you, we do have a lot of contact if they allow and they sign for it. We try to have contact with their counselor, so that we can help them within the school. So we don't always get them at the point of screening, but many times we try to get them after that so that we can work with them when they come back in.
Before you guys move to the next slide.
Sure.
Could you guys, somebody or all of you, take up a few minutes and just explain the SAP program? Because
Sure.
coming from another state, I had never experienced anything like that until I came to DV in 1997. Because while it's mandated in Pennsylvania, most states don't have this. And it's a really big deal, so I thought they'd like to hear about it.
Okay, I'll do it.
Layman's terms.
Yeah, no problem. The Student Assistance Program is something that all schools in the state of Pennsylvania have. It's to identify students who are at risk. Primarily, many years ago, I believe it first started to identify children who are at risk for drug and alcohol use. And actually, it's a fabulous program in that a teacher, any school personnel can refer. A student can refer another student. A parent can refer a student. A student can refer themselves. So basically, if we have an idea that there is a student who is struggling in any area, such as academics or attendance, there's a high attendance problem, or there's a writing in a class that was concerning to a teacher, or they said something, or they're just not themselves anymore. They're referred, and their name goes to the SAP team. The SAP team then puts out information. They ask for information from all areas of the school that the student has access to. So we get information from counseling department, we get information from the administration, from the nurse, from all of their teachers, so that we kind of get an idea of what we at the school see of the student at all areas. So once we see all that, we ask the parent to come in and say, hey, this is what we see with your kid. Maybe they're struggling with their attendance, or they're having a lot of disciplinary issues, or maybe it's just their grades, whatever it is, to say, this is what we see. We're concerned, and here is what we would like to offer, what we can do here at school, or can refer you to other places.
And we also offer like a free one-time mental health assessment,
Correct. We do have a partnership with Mental Health and Developmental Services.
as well as drug and alcohol.
Correct. So students that we feel are having problems with drug and alcohol, we can get them a DNA assessment through the DNA Commission. And we also have, if we're worried that there might be mental health concerns, especially if we know for a fact that the student or the family is not getting any services in the home, we can have Erin Stroyan come from Mental Health and Developmental Services, who will do an assessment. And she's fabulous. She knows all of the things that are available to kids, and she will help the family find what they need, if they need to fill out paperwork or any of those kinds of things, so that they can get those services.
As far as employees, only employees, who would be involved in the student assistance program? If say I refer a child to you, and I refer a child, who would be involved in that?
Well, there is a team in every building, and the team consists of, and you're gonna have to help me with this, an
Counselors,
administrator,
Nurses.
nurses,
Administrators.
Yeah, counselors, nurses, administrators,
And teachers.
and teachers. Everybody does need to be trained through the Students Assistance Program, and it is a 3-day training that our district has been great. We even pulled in and had a training done right here at Delaware Valley for our teachers to take the opportunity to be trained here, so we have more staff members that can sit on our teams and help our kids.
I was gonna ask you how you identified a child for that, but you pretty much covered that. So now we know we have a program in place. How often is that program used? Is it used? Or is it-
Yes.
Can I go to the next
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I asked though.
All right, so this is why adding this wellness, part of the wellness policy and adding this mental health component is so important. This is the data that the counseling department has gathered from August through December only. So this is answering a lot of your questions there in regards to our Students Assistance Program referrals. So at each building, what's going on? I'm touching things. I'm sorry. So at each building level, this is the numbers of how many students were referred to our program. The next one is our student attendance improvement plan. So they are our state plans. That's the other opportunity that we invite parents in, and we now start to be a collaborative effort with parents and the school to start to identify what's going on with your child and how can we help on our end, or what else is missing that's preventing them from being successful. And again,
explain how instructional support team is similar to SAP at the elementary level.
well, I kind of skipped that one because we were
That's
talking
all
about SAP. Amy asked me to point out the instructional support team, and that is primarily offered at the elementary schools. And that is very similar to SAP because, again, the IST teams are looking at what are the reasons that that student is struggling and how they can help that student. So they start tracking him, monitoring him, and seeing what other programming needs to be in place to help that student be successful. There is also SAP at the elementary school called ESAP. Those numbers aren't as big. It's still starting to grow. It's fairly new at the elementary level. You asked in regards about the depression screenings. We don't do that, but anytime any one of our students starts speaking about suicide, we take it extremely seriously, and we do want to intervene in that. So the suicide screeners are the numbers across the board on how many screeners were done just through August through December of kids that have mentioned it. And again, some say it in passing, like, oh, I failed this test, I'm going to kill myself. But again, that's a thought that they're going to. We need to address that, and we need to find out what's happening and what's going on with that student's thought process and what else we need to do to follow up with that student. So that is a number that we definitely have seen growing over the years. And it has definitely been something that's been instrumental in building our other numbers. When we have a suicide screener, a lot of times we will refer them to SAP to get that complete picture of that kid. And again, collaborating with the parent to find out what else we do need to do to help support our students and get them any outside help in addition to what we can do on our end. The children and youth referrals. So this is anytime we talk to a kid where we're suspecting abuse. And that also we also refer to children and youth for their truancy intervention program. So if we have a student who is attendance-wise not coming, reaching 10 days unexcused, we're not having that communication. We've done the SAPE, and we're still struggling on our end to engage that family and getting that child into school. We'll also refer them to children and youth truancy intervention program. And then Friendship House referrals. Again, Friendship House is the agency that's been brought in to collaborate with us and have that outside agency right here. And that's been huge, especially I know for my school up in the Dingmans area, because our parents do struggle to transport their kids to our local providers, because sometimes, unfortunately, it is far, and sometimes our providers are very booked. So to have a counselor that comes right into the building and take that whole component of travel away has been so critical for a lot of our kids. So that has been a wonderful program that has been started with Maria and with your support to have them in and help support our kids who weren't able to access that outside counseling and that outside service that can now take place right here in the school.
But don't leave that screen, because this is incredible. I mean, when you think about 4 months data of all the things, and there are people home, and one of our board members is writing to me who's watching from home. People at home can't see this, but the numbers are incredible. At the elementary school instructional support team, 113. Student assistance program, 176. The student attendance improvement, over 300 kids. The suicide screeners, 76. Referrals to children and youth, 39. referrals to the Friendship House, 81.
Yeah, we're busy.
That's a ton.
Very
That's a
busy.
ton of referrals to help kids out.
It's a ton of kids. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
Holy smokes.
And there's still more.
There is. I mean, we didn't have January's data.
Yeah,
So-
we're not even at the halfway point.
No, no.
But that's incredible.
It fights the argument that I hear sometimes that DV doesn't care, because I know you care. I know you care.
Our district's amazing when it comes to this
That
kind of
statement's
support.
gonna make those three ladies go crazy.
I know, it
That's-
makes me go
that's really
crazy, so
frustrating.
I sympathize with you, because I could be sitting home at night at 7, 8, 10, at night, Saturday morning. I'll get a call from a parent that their child was on social media and their friend mentioned something about suicide. And I call it in, and I'll call somebody, and the parent will hit it up with me, send it to me, and usually the principal as well. And I gotta tell you, a lot of after hours, those principals knew about it before I knew about it too, or we knew about it together. But then when we collaborated on it, the plan's already been in place. So, I can say for the 5 years I've been here, quite a few suicide children mentioning it. And if you mention it, everybody's pretty serious about it.
Yeah.
And that's what I factually have seen. And I always say, if a child has a problem today, especially with John, if I bring a child to John, a matter to his attention, and so many others, if that child has a problem today, there's a plan in place by the morning for that child when they come here. And that's what I've seen factually. So when I hear people say DV doesn't care, it drives me nuts, because for 5 years, all I've been seeing is caring from everybody. So I do really thank you on that suicide. The numbers, that many, it's kind of shocking, but that's the day and age we live in. But I do know that is taken very seriously, as well as all the other stuff.
One of the wonderful, if you can say wonderful things about our district is our students, is that we also get many students that report other students because they are worried, which is wonderful. In many schools, you don't hear that. My nieces and nephews are down in the Dallas school district, and they don't talk about those things. I have students that come to me all the time that are just like, can you please talk to my friend Joe? He seems sad, or he won't talk to me, or whatever, which is wonderful, because then we can intervene.
What I found too that I really like, I have 2 young daughters, and they always come to us. Myself and my wife say, we always want to keep that. We always want them to come to us. But so many children that I've come across, the child will go to the parent first and say, Mom, my friend is on social media saying he or she wants to kill themselves, or is having these thoughts. That they can go to the parent. So what we're teaching here is going home to the household too.
Yes, which is wonderful.
So they are working with their parents, and then the parents will contact me, because the child might not know, or they'll contact the principal where the child might not want to. It doesn't matter, contact somebody when it comes to that point. But I like what I've seen, really.
And that's one of the things we have to say, thank you to you guys for your support of always replacing counselors when they're moving or shifting or leaving, and adding, the social workers, and even the addition of the school psychologist that was added last year. That was a huge pace. They have such a huge mental health background and counseling training, that's part of our, what's next. And again, expanding the school psychologist role into our mental health supports, being able to take all of their knowledge and expertise and being able to utilize that in addition to everything that they do for the special education department. And that's been just the biggest component, having the people in place to be able to help our kids. So this is our what's next, the wellness fair, which Amy had already talked about. We have vendors that are very excited about it. A lot of people want to be involved in it. It is going to take place in April. So we are looking forward to that. And that's going to be our first ever. So we're expecting it to be great. Parent training, what's going on with my teenager. This is something that our social workers are going to be doing. They're going to be presenting information to the parents, trying to helping them to identify what's normal developmental behaviors, and also what are some of those red flags that you might want to start looking at now, and start looking and thinking if, maybe this is something my teenager needs to start looking for further services. We just had a meeting with Mr. Mitchell with Safe Haven, so we are very optimistic and hopeful of expanding our partnership with them. They can offer a lot of resources and a lot of support to our students, so we want to be able to bring them in and utilize them in a much more comprehensive way.
They're already coming into I just heard today, they're already coming in to do a presentation in Evan Bates's English classes. So already they're coming in just to do a little, I don't know what they're talking about in Mr. Bates's class, but whatever it is, they're coming in so that, you know, they can talk to the kids. So already it's working.
It's great. We're introducing a partnership with the Victims Intervention Program. They are going to be currently running a group at the high school level with some of our students. We already spoke about the great things with the school psychologist. The other thing we're going to be doing is now a yearly update of our comprehensive school counseling plan. So we're going to be taking a look at what the program offers from the school counselors and what those needs are, and being able to update those on a needs basis for our students. We're also going to be working with the PTA to attract speakers for our school-wide student assemblies and be able to pull in some other very good programming to reach all of our students as well.
Quick question on back to SAP. Sorry.
Sure, no, that's fine.
What does the turnaround time look like from referral to actually action? Because of the comprehensive nature of the team, I would imagine getting everyone together for every referral is tough.
What we usually do is we set up within our schedules. Our principals are great about having a staffed time. So we meet at the middle school level twice a week. And we review all of our cases. Our turnaround time from referral to then presenting all of the information is typically about 2 weeks. Once we present the information to the entire team, that's the point where we make that decision about calling in the parent. And then it's based on the parent and how quickly we can get them in.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Good. Anybody got questions?
Corey, just to jump on that real quick,
Yeah.
if it's determined that there's a crisis situation, obviously it's not a 2-week period
Yeah.
of time waiting. I mean, if the team
Yeah.
determines it's critical, then a parent call is made, come in today. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
2 weeks is a more typical
General consent.
ongoing issue
Yeah.
with the student as opposed to a crisis.
And there are some times where we have an issue with the student that's already been taken care of, let's say, but it has something to do with, I don't know, say a disciplinary action. But then we all talk and we say, you know what, it was already dealt with. We already talked to the parent, but let's just make sure. And we send out, we do a SAP referral just to make sure that we're not missing anything else.
We just
So-
had a discipline referral at Dingman's the other day, and they had the parent scheduled to come in. We real quick within the next day had all the information and were able to present it to the parent the next
I
day.
imagine there's such a spectrum, you know,
Yes.
of what you
Mhm.
can see in that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so, how long was SAP been around? A while?
Oh,
Yes.
a long time.
And I think, yeah, it used to be just secondary.
Right.
At one time, Pennsylvania and Minnesota were the only states that required it by law. But I think it's expanded to other states since then. That was in around 2000, but there's only 2 states that
Because it's so interesting to hear now from the higher ed perspective that colleges are struggling with this now. You know what I mean? They're struggling with it's an early alert system, you know, like, it smells like early alert.
Yeah.
So colleges are struggling with that now. It's amazing that this has been around for so long. It's great.
And you know what's wonderful about it is that it's from regular teachers. It's only what they observe. So there's no diagnosis. It's not like they're trying to tell parents like what's wrong. We're just saying, hey, this is what we see. What can we do? How can we help you get, help for your kid?
Right, we're further implementing one at the college, and it really comes down to see something, say something, you know?
Yep.
And just 2 seconds to fill out a form and
Yep.
send it along, you know what I mean? So,
And
great.
like
Yeah.
Lynn said, it's part of their daily schedule.
That's
You
great.
know, just like you schedule their classes and their duties and stuff. So that way, things do turn around on a regular basis. It's not, oh my God, we gotta get everybody together after school for a meeting. No, it happens during the day. It's part of their regular schedule. And that's probably the most important thing in terms of keeping the wheels moving.
Absolutely.
And the teacher training is voluntary. So, I mean, we're getting teachers that really want to be a part of it, that are really in it to help the kids and really want to be a part of this. So it's really a great program.
It saves everybody a lot of time and effort later on, and you can have something in the butt
Yeah.
before something else escalates. It's great.
Thank you.
Last thing I have to say is, I'd be really remiss if I didn't mention this, because I heard mention of it earlier. I have 2 daughters. The biggest problem my daughters have in life is having me as a father. Right? Because I can be somewhat Catholic schoolish. They don't have any real issues. They've had minor little things, but any educator that works in DV, I want to know who's near my child, because you are near my child more hours in the day than I am, and I spend an awful lot of time with my children.
Mhm.
You know, I'm a very hands-on parent. I'm always with them. But you're actually spending, so when I sign up for parent-teacher conferences, I meet everybody.
Mhm.
I want to know everybody that child comes in contact with. Having said that, my daughters really don't have anything major, but I've talked to their counselors over the years. And one thing that I've found amazing is how much those counselors know about my two daughters. They watch them in the lunchrooms, they watch them in the halls, they bring them in. They know an awful lot about my children. And my children are not, besides having me as a dad, I don't think they really have much to talk about when they go to the house. You know? I could probably keep them a few hours talking about me, but that's what I'm trying to say. So, now these counselors know so much about my children. Don't seem to have too many issues. How much more do they know about the other children that do struggle in other areas or do have this stuff going on in families or whatever? And I know that they're involved with the special education assessments and all of that stuff on top of it. So I'm a guy that keeps my ear pretty close to the ground, but I don't always hear the truth, as what I said before. And I've heard this, that we don't have enough counselors. So I don't want to put anybody in any awkward positions here, but what I would do is say, this is not a board that has said no. We just need to know what we're spending our money on so that we can go, because we're elected by people, we need to go back and tell those who elected us where their money is going. So if there is a genuine need, and I don't know if there is or not, we'll need to discuss that and bring that to us, you know, through your department heads about that, because this is not a board that says no to stuff. We just need to know what we're spending our money on. And if there is a general need for that, let us know, because I don't know how these counselors are doing all these things. It's a lot.
Yeah, we don't know how we're doing it either. But we're
It is
making
a
it
lot.
happen.
Keep it up.
I
Thank
noticed that you've got social workers at the middle school and the high school level. Is there a need for it at the elementary level, or do you think that the counselors pretty much have?
Well,
what
from
they
a
need?
social worker, I'm gonna say there's always a need. I mean, you know, as a social worker, I'm gonna say, you know, yes, and having that.
But we are seeing a lot of the need getting more and more. You know, and back to the numbers, like the middle school level definitely has very high numbers. So our goal is at the elementary level to really help teach those kids those coping skills and really build that. So our counselors are in the classroom doing guidance lessons to help, you know, to help educate these students. They're also running groups as well. So to have a social worker down there to run more groups, to do more individuals, to really find that kid that counselor can't spend that one-on-one time with because they are teaching the lesson or doing PSSAs, you know, or in an IST meeting. You know, that is definitely, you know, any additional help is always valuable.
One of the things we did a few years ago, we added another counselor for the middle school to share. So one counselor runs back and forth 2.5 days a week in each of the two middle schools, just to cater to sixth grade.
Right.
And then this year we added the school psych. And right now we're working on a grant proposal with the Friendship House that would have a grant-funded therapist that we would use exclusively on the elementary level. So, and there's several other districts that are in on this grant, so if we can hit this grant, that would be really great.
State or federal?
Who's it through? Is it through the state?
It's a combination of Friendship House and Moses
Yeah,
Moses Taylor
Taylor.
Hospital in Scranton. And it's for year one of the funding, partial funding of this social worker position.
It's just, there are areas that I know that you face on a daily basis that have legal time limits. You only have a certain amount of time to accomplish something. So I just need to know if we do have sufficient staff to accomplish those goals, which we're legally bound to do, and all this other stuff.
Yeah, and I think what you're speaking to, Jack, is the role of the school psychologist, and they are bound by 60-day rules.
Right.
And the addition of the school psychologist that we got last year really helped us alleviate that crunch time of it's day 59 and I still have got to get a report out. So I mean, it's considerably better with that fifth social work.
Or
school psychologist, or whatever that.
But if you
role is,
want to ask
school
Tiff, that's
psychologist.
great too.
What I'm trying to really say, and it took too much time because we still gotta get out of here, is that.
We still know that.
Jack goes to the bathroom.
Don't make me. He's just come and tell us what, honestly. Just be honest. Yes, tell us.
So that's our next one, the therapist and that next thing.
And like I said, your continued support is
tremendous.
huge, huge. Makes a huge difference for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Great job, ladies.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if we can get a plaque on the wall that says, "We are the board that never says no."
We don't really say no. We always fight and argue, but in the end, we always say yes.
I walk in with a hat and really comes out the wrap.
We don't say yes immediately, but it's usually a yes.
Well, for those of us about to present our budgets to you, that's really good.
No, first, we always say no first.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was great.
may I have a motion to approve the minutes for the regular board meeting held on December 13th, 2018?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Reports, we waived the student representative report because of tonight's weather. Is there administrative reports and attendance reports? Is there any comments on the administrative reports?
I would just like to commend Mrs. Hutman and her staff up in Shahola for having that extra, taking the initiative to have that extra activity thing on a Friday evening because the parents commented that they couldn't get babysitters to go Christmas shopping. I thought that was just incredible, that, you know, people would stay home, would come into school until 7:30 on a Friday night to stay with kids so that their parents can go out and Christmas shop. I thought that was incredible.
And along with that, we had, in that classroom, we had TSS worker that came in. We had a nurse from an outside agency that came in to help. And we had instructional assistants, and none of these people were paid. They just came in to take care of these kids while the parents could Christmas shop. It was outstanding. She's planning another one for a couple weeks from now.
Yeah, bus referral in Jehovah, that system. That's the only school we're doing that with, right? Right now?
Is that
With
the
the reward or?
reward system?
Yeah.
Let's go to
Is that district wide?
Other schools have different things that they do, right? It's just that one's got a lot of press.
I don't think, in
Okay.
primary, I think they had a meeting this, and a luncheon for the bus drivers to explain, like an incentive program.
Yeah, we did that we had a breakfast yesterday.
Right, great.
Officer Clark is doing a kind of a joint with the PTA, with both PTAs, and trying to try yet another bus incentive to hopefully, you know, we're willing to try anything. So that, you'll see that in next month's board reports.
Yeah, I
But
saw
that
that.
starts February 1st, so.
I do keep the ear to the ground, so I saw you
Yeah.
had that
Yep.
up there, the breakfast and everything, and I
Yep.
appreciate those that were involved in doing that, because I know, I noticed that up in Shola, Elementary, and I liked it, so I was really happy to
Yep.
see it there.
So you'll,
I'm not sure, is DVES doing it in their house thing, you know?
I think they get points and stuff.
They could- With that new thing with the medieval houses, they're doing everything in the big common areas, and
Right.
busing, it either is or will become part of it. They do cafeteria, gym, stuff like that.
I don't want to take, Mrs. Bedelia, actually, I was talking to her about it last year. She's the one who actually started. I kind of based mine off what they were doing, so.
It's good. I like what you're all doing, thank you very
Yeah, 'cause
much.
I mean, nothing smells like a pilot program more, you know, we're trying these different schools and
See
then
what
running the
works.
data to see actually what's making an impact, you know, and then roll it out. It's good.
Just gotta keep changing it. Just have to keep changing it, because
They get tired of
what
it.
sounds good for 2 months, then they get tired of it, so that's kind of where we're at.
I love to hear these things coming out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which school you hear them coming from here all the time, from all our schools, so it's really great to hear.
Another quick, are we on
Okay.
attendance?
No, we're on,
Yeah.
whatever you want to be on.
Okay. Yeah, I talked about attendance last time too. I'm looking at the attendance, the professional absences in the month of December. Dingdale Elementary had 10.9% absences. Primary school had 8.4, Shahol, you know, a lot, they were higher. Are we having a problem with substitutes?
Well, we were really worried on that Friday, the 21st of December. we were very worried that that might be a problematic day, also because the basketball team was playing in the city.
Right.
And there were a lot of people that took personal days to be able to go see that, and we managed to cover. We covered every single one, you know.
Covering with
Substitute.
substitutes, or
Yeah.
were we pulling?
No, we didn't,
IAs and-
we didn't have any uncovered teachers. We had them all
Okay.
covered.
I think there were 2 IAs that were not.
Okay. Is there ever an issue where, like a priority, like we think that, okay, we're short somebody somewhere, but with this new substitute program, we don't have a way of saying where the gap is gonna be. You know what I'm saying?
The next morning, that next morning though, we can move the subs wherever we need to.
You
move
can move them, even
Yeah.
if it's like from secondary to elementary?
Well, what happens normally is they come to that building and then we
Okay.
say, okay, well, you're not going there because we can't have a classroom without a teacher.
Okay,
So someone who was gonna sub for the reading teacher is now going into the classroom.
right,
And we move them that morning. That's usually what the
And that-
principals and secretaries.
And that, and if in the morning we see that there are vacancies, the sub-coordinator gets into the system about 5:30 in the morning, and she'll go in and move people around and call.
oh,
them.
okay, and call them and say they've been moved,
Yes.
okay,
There's no
okay,
di- We've had the sub-caller, but we always had a person behind it.
right.
And it's no different now that Chris
Okay.
Johnson, we have Beth, they're doing.
I just didn't know if people could sign up for, oh, I'm going to this class, and then, okay, it's a done deal now, and
They,
there's,
they sometimes don't like it when they
Right.
have to call and say.
Well,
"We're
I
moving
didn't
you."
either when I was
When they sign in the morning, they say, I'm subbing for such and such.
No, you're not.
Anymore. Not anymore, because in the
I
last 2
would have
hours,
said
it's
no to
gotten
that
worse.
one, you know?
You know, we need more coverage.
Rosemary, we do that with instructional assistants to make sure our critical classrooms are covered
Okay.
as well, because some classrooms obviously
Right.
can't be without
Right.
instructional
Right.
assistants.
Thank you.
Okay. Financial reports, are there any comments on the financial reports? Superintendent's report, Dr. John Bell.
I'm gonna waive my report.
You really want to get out.
I live far away.
You gotta be up early tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be up early.
Yeah, you and Marvin out in the road with your pajamas
You
looking
gotta
up.
get these.
May I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being no objection, the motion carries. May I have a motion to accept the bills for payment, which include the general fund, cafeteria fund, capital reserve fund, and the 2017 construction fund?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. We will need an executive session to discuss the student issue and personnel issue. I have a motion to move into executive session to discuss the student issue and a personal issue.
Motion.
No discussion on it.
So we'll be coming back?
We'll be right
You can
back.
turn it. We'll be right back.
Don't even sit down.
I'm good.
The hopes of 8 o'clock
up all the kids she would.
Just two kids. Two kids go at the same time. We have a motion to move back into regular session.
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? We don't need any of that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No objection, the motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the personal items, including resignations, appointment, child rearing leaves, extension of bereavement, change of status, and request for sabbatical leave with the retirement resignations designated with regret.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
I would just like to jump in and say, John McCooley, who has worked for the district for 32 years and has been with me for 22 years. An amazing employee, dedicated, great problem solver. I think she's worked with every person in this entire district, and she's gonna be a big loss, but I'm happy for her. And I just want to pay tribute to her because she's been my right hand. So I'll miss her. We'll all miss her.
Have you filled her position? Have you filled her position?
Yes.
And it's on 2 seconds.
Okay.
Brad Rosario has also been a employee based
Yes.
on the district for many, many years.
Kind of missing those. Those two, talk about dedication to Delaware Valley. Holy cow.
It's.
Okay. Midnight items for approval. May I have a motion to? I thought we already did, sorry.
All those in favor?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Thanks, Joe. May I have a motion to acknowledge the completion of induction process for the following: Lisa Cunningham, Samantha Orr, Sarah Brandy, and Ariel Wilkes.
Motion?
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing no objection, the motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the dismissal of classified employee 2018-2019-02744, effective December 21st, 2018?
Second.
There's no discussion on that. Okay.
Because it's a personnel issue.
That's what
I
we
can
did.
see it with students, but,
And she may use that time.
Yeah.
It's a personnel issue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student 2018-2019 10008071 for 90 school days with the right to reapply after 45 school days if items listed in stipulation are met.
Motion?
Second.
There is also no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing letting of bids for 2019-2020?
Motion?
I have to read this. Excuse me. Resolved, the Board of School Directors for the Delaware Valley School District authorizes the letting of bids for the 2019-2020 school year for the following: general supplies, industrial arts and equipment supplies, custodial equipment and supplies, electrical equipment and supplies, art supplies, furniture and equipment, physical education equipment and supplies, athletic and medical equipment and supplies, nurses' medical supplies, instruments, equipment and supplies, family and consumer science equipment and supplies, science equipment and supplies, career and technical education supplies.
Motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the change orders for CTE addition and renovations projects? Marpol General Contractor PCO-029, install additional storm drainage for existing roof drains, $11,507.03. Everon Electrical PCO-018C, labor and materials for new conduits, 120 volt outlet and heater hookup, $2,228. Everon Electric PCO-042, Labor and materials to add power for teacher's desk and smartboard, $1,846. Net total $15,581.03.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the additional Delaware Valley Adult and Community Education course and instructor for the spring of 2019? Please see attachment.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just really quick, I mean, there's been a lot of good buzz on the different offerings for spring 2019 in the community, so it's great.
There's been a lot of nice buzz on how they go about applying. We don't have to line up anymore outside. It's so much,
Pain.
yeah.
You know, when my boys used to swim, it was a royal pain. I always sent my wife.
All those, I said my wife did. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. Please note in the minutes, the following board policies are under review. 103.1, 220, 1 through 17.
Nice.
Thank you.
That's one of the many reasons.
Other business from the board?
When are we gonna be voting on these? Next meeting?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we have a work session in between, and Ashley made some changes to the,
810 one based on our discussion.
yeah, she made those amendments.
810-2, and use of audio video
Yep.
recording on school buses. Yeah, I've heard from a few parents, they want to be a part of the next work session, and this is being discussed.
They should have last one.
Yep. Is there any other business from the board?
Jack, I just want to mention that the information the board requested their last time we met in executive session has been distributed. Please have a look at that, and we'll plan on having another executive session for the negotiating committee soon.
Okay, John, thanks very much. I just had in my notes here to thank you for taking on this negotiating committee and Dawn and Rosemary for helping you with it. I really do appreciate it. And I did receive the material that you told me about. Thanks very much for doing this, John. Well. The other thing I'm gonna mention really quickly, since we blew the 8 o'clock, is when I talked about that financial analysis that I did in the beginning, one of the other glaring things, and this is, the reason I mention it, it's important to the people that Delaware Valley School District employs, our teachers. When it comes to the OPEB that we discussed in detail last year, when it comes to their compensated absences, when it comes to their PSERs, I mean, as a union worker, these things are very important to me, so I know they're very important to them. We far surpass any of these A, B, C, D, C schools that we normally list on what they're very secure. I don't think we're gonna have one employee that would look at what the other neighboring school districts have put away for their future and say, oh, I want to go there. They've done, the boards previous and the boards current have done a really good job in putting money away to guarantee our teachers' futures. And that's glaring. So when you do go into pa.education.gov, you will see they have nothing to really worry about as compared to the other schools. That's the only thing I wanted to add to that. Is there any other announcements from the board? Any business from the public? Okay, announcements. February 14, 2019, work session is at 7 p.m. Delaware Valley Administrative Offices. February 21st, 2019 is the regular board meeting, 7 p.m. at the Delaware Valley Administrative Offices. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no objection, the motion carries. The meeting is adjourned at 8:07.